do I take your technology, your understanding of the technology, march it over to GAO or actual agencies, have them stop sending me papers about ideas for implementation and actually implement? Because it's not 20 years ago where it took me a 2-year project and I had to hire IBM to do a bolt-on on my old bolt-on on my AS400. Seriously, I started on an AS400 at one time. Why do you laugh at that? But I'm really serious about this. The ability to take data sets today and just get going on it. I thought you already had certain, I don't know if they technically qualify as AI programs, but translational programs that will take my old stuff and now it's Java, now it's whatever. How do you help it?
I don't know that GAO particularly needs my help on this. I think Dr. Thompson has it Thomas has it well under hand. But the agencies face a lot of challenges for a bunch of different reasons. I mean, they're all their own special creature, and so you know, whether it's funding, a lot of it's expertise, but a lot of it is just the status quo of how things have happened in the past, and so they don't set up a big plan, right? And so I think demanding a sort of action plan is probably
Is
the
there
first
a way
step.
to standardize that action plan? Where, okay, look, it's been pointed out, you know, the cost of high-end talent, our compensation schedules is one of the reasons we can't keep them. We've already learned, whether it be the Wall Street Journal series in regards to MA, or some of the other things, sometimes the one that bathes only on occasion, but's a dropout of MIT because he was already bored, has the ability to do things in hours that would take some of those years. We've all had one of those in our lives. I'm just trying to figure out how to move away from having another hearing, another conversation, to actual implementation. You know, you know, a decade ago, I was positive blockchain was going to be my way to build universal databases, access hierarchies of permission. You know, I have an expertise in blockchain node coding and design. And I'm here a decade later and it didn't go anywhere. So help me.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think it's less of a, I mean, there is obviously the technical problem of how do you provide these tools, but I think there is very much a social and political challenge here, and that's an area that I'm not a deep expert on, although I've seen, you know, changes at the Federal Trade Commission primarily. So yeah.
Okay, Dr. Thomas.
Yeah, and I'll in this instance, if you don't mind, I'll talk from my professional experience as opposed to GAO. Because I don't think we have a body of work quite on this topic yet. You know, there's two areas I think you're getting at. One is just the workforce, right? And there are very bright people who are interested in working for the government because it makes a difference, right? They're mission oriented. You know, they don't maybe are not. They're at some point in their career, or whether they're not after the big money or they've already done that. So that happens because I'm one of them. You know, I'm one of those people who've done that. But the second part is that getting the new technology into individual agencies one by one is a challenge.
Okay, so can I give you, and tell you, you're more than welcome to say I'm way over my skis and out. Okay, so I have dozens and dozens of different government entities. Mm-hmm. They all each have their own databases, their own mechanisms. Mm-hmm. If I had them basically hosted, you know, with their own sets, their own permissions, but in a common area, yeah, could I actually have a machine learning package that first does this one, then rolls to this one, then rolls to this one, and you actually do where it actually gives you your optionality on your data sets and externality, you know, where it's seeing abnormalities and those things. Yeah. And in that case, it's a central AI shop. But because we're actually heading towards a world where we're going to do some more data sharing to find out, so like we've learned with some of the Social Security databases, the death file because it didn't have access in so many things over here, people would steal grandma's identity, but grandma hasn't been with us for a while, and they were taking out loans. And that's elementary school level coding of just sharing data. Is the concept of, you've talked about professional skill sets and staff, but could it be in a single island instead of going around to the individual agencies? Is that a...
It can be done. Now, remember, the rules for privacy of the data is defined by Congress, so that's something you can change.
But look, the Defense Department keeps much of its data in an encrypted cloud.
So yeah, we get the national security data is a little bit different.
My iPhone has an encryption chip in it. The fact of the matter is, this is more secure than any HIPAA database out there.
Yeah, but as a scientist, what you're describing is a great environment where the data is there, the analytics are there, the technology exists to create role-based permissions so that you can control who accesses what within a centralized system. The technology's there. I think there are barriers within the government. A lot of it come down to the rules that have been put into place.
Okay, am I insane? Excuse me, am I being too techno-utopian?
I think the aspiration is worth pursuing. I think that some good points have been raised that it's about empowering the agencies, with maybe, is it dedicated resources to push forward.
But in your vision, it's the talent is at the agency, and one of the conversations I've had with certain folks is saying, create the talent, but they capture the agency's data more from a central hub.
I think my point is it's priorities, and we were talking about it briefly here, that a lot of these agencies, they're in the business of their customer delivery. They're trying to keep the business going, and it's whether it's implementing the recommendations I talked about from the OIGs, or it's pursuing these advanced tools. It's prioritizing for them what's important, what's going to deliver the greatest return. I'm
going to come back to you on that. Okay. Forgive me, but Dr. Miller is one of my favorite people, which, trust me, in this place doesn't get you much. If I came to you right now and said, give me the 3 things technology can do to change the cost and access to healthcare for the better for society, give me the 3 pieces of legislation someone like me should be trying to drive through this process, what would you do?
I'd focus on the plan admin processes, which are the 3 things that I mentioned. So the automation of Medicaid eligibility, because it's categorical and financial. There's not really discretion involved in, a lot of discretion involved in Medicaid eligibility. So move it towards automation. Require CMS to do that and have a clear timeline.
Okay, so you'd have the Medicaid eligibility, grab the state data, and CMS do the match. Would you do a match to private data?
To what data?
In Ways and Means, we've talked about certain things where we have certain earned income tax credit benefits, those things. Instead of putting them on delays for a couple months to see if you get multiple requests under the same Social Security number, if you did a match to certain commercial databases saying, oh yeah, consumption matches reported income, send them their check. Would you do a data quality bounce of a commercial database just to see if the eligibility qualifications to speed it up?
I don't think it's unreasonable. I can't say if that would be the right operational answer.
Okay.
But the idea of making the standard for Medicaid eligibility, instead of it being a paper or a manual or a fax-based process, to have it be an automated technological process, just like you log on and get into your bank account. It should be simple. The second thing I would do is I would tell CMS, you could do it through oversight, you could also do it through legislation, to move diagnosis coding across the Medicare program, not just MA, but also in fee-for-service, to an automated software.
Okay, and we actually have, because that's the one I was hoping you'd give me as number 3, because that one we have great interest in.
Because the issues about diagnosis coding, right, there's clinically appropriate diagnosis coding intensity, there's sort of the gray area, and then there's the fraud, the DOJ hauls you off to jail. And then there are, of course, changes that happen when the same beneficiary in fee-for-service and MA can look differently, but that's because the programs have different incentives for coding. So if you fix coding across the entire system, as opposed to in one of the programs, and you fix it at the point of delivery, that's a huge improvement.
You see, now, I need to talk to you because I need to make sure, we've been actually having a discussion on MA, what would happen if I could get some of that coding profile so I know my risk adjustment before a capitated bid.
Right.
So you're not bidding, or you're not scoring people once a bid is already, once services are already out there, but you do it in your initial bid, and therefore it changes the incentives saying, I'm going to try to keep you healthier than spend my time trying to score you as sicker. I mean,
Yeah, I would say that the answer is because the beneficiary would be coded the same or very similarly in fee-for-service versus MA, it would eliminate those incentives. Because,
okay, and number 3.
So, and number 3 would be making the prior authorization data submission process electronic. It's still like 1/4 or 1/3, I think, fax and a certain.
Okay, so universal prior auth, would you do it?
Well, I would say prior auth in Medicare and Medicaid managed care have the data submission. So I'm not even talking about the process of whether it's the same specialist reviewing that of the person who's submitting. I'm talking about the submission of data.
Okay, so that'd be different than a true clean claims model.
Right, I'm talking first order. Like, we haven't even gotten submission of data to be purely electronic and integrated into point of care. So it should be, like, if you come and see me in clinic, or I see someone in clinic or in the hospital, and I'm typing my note, or, it's my notes being dictated, then at the end of the visit, I click a button and say, yes, I want to send this to Cigna or whomever. We can't do that right now. And so that's a problem even before the other issues in prior auth.
Only because I have people screaming at me, I'm supposed to be doing another. Will you have a quick conversation, Dr. Miller, with this young man behind me? He is freaky smart, and we've been working on your number 2 as trying to understand, could we get actually the risk adjustment coding in front instead of doing it over time. So we actually, from day one, know what helps our brothers and sisters who are receiving particularly an MA benefit.
Happy to
keep them healthier. Gentlemen, I have a dozen questions I want to send you. You forgive if you get a couple notes from me. I really do want to think about, and I wish I could say it's my idea, but I have one of those people in my life who is truly a genius, and bathing is optional. And that's the one who've always thought, saying, look, you have this data and hundreds of different concerns through government. You needed to A, talk to each other, B, if it talks to each other, then you could actually do much of its mining and set design from a single location. So it's not genuinely my idea. And I need to find out, was that just a caffeinated rambling, or is it a brilliant idea? So, yeah, Dr. Thomas, before we throw the gavel.
Yeah, just at the bug in your ear, a potential model to start with is something similar to PACE, which is a centralized program for analytics to fight against fraud. And it's bringing the data together, it's bringing the analysts together. It's a starting point, something to consider.
Well, okay, you started this. Okay. But fraud analytics are not only crowdsourced in many ways, but they're living. They're constant. It's not like a single match. My understanding is the best ones, actually, it's constant, because there's constant, every day there's new inputs, there's new scams, there's new bots that, it's not just a match, good, gone, done. It's just like how many of you drive with Waze? Yeah. It's a living data set. And I think that's actually, it was always my blockchain model. It has to be living. And I think that becomes one of the design problems so often in government is I hire some 3 people, they're very smart, they build it, but 6 months later, everything that's in there is already out of date. It's Dr. Miller, I believe, I may have actually gotten this from you, medical knowledge doubles every 72 days.
But you're right. But you create an ecosystem similar to what exists in the cyber world, where new
Okay.
new models and new signatures of those threats are made available to the community. As opposed to when someone discovers it, say someone discovers it in agency A, it can then be communicated to the rest of the community through something like a centralized analytics center.
Okay.
Because you're right, the fraudsters are innovative too.
Well,
And that's what we need to build a system for.
yeah, or the brain trust, Congress comes up with another idea, throws out something, and we give you absolutely unrealistic implementation times. And in that, we create the fragilities. I see a whiteboard session coming. Gentlemen, I apologize to you. You deserve so much more of our attention. But what you do is important, and thank you for helping us. And with that, we're adjourned.